Matt, we spoke about a new era at Wolves. Now you take over as technical director. How much are you looking forward to these new responsibilities?
Yeah, it's a great challenge for me and a real honour to help the club. I've obviously been here coming up for nearly 5 years now, and I've worked for some really good people. Scott first brought me in, and then worked for Hobbsy after that. Obviously worked closely with Domenico up until recent times. So I've seen all departments of the football club, had a brief spell going over to Grasshoppers, which was a brilliant responsibility for me, and a tough challenge, but one we came through pretty well at the time. But this is a whole new challenge again.
Yeah, you talk about that journey. Can you sort of talk us through it and how your responsibilities have changed over the years?
Yeah, I mean, I came in originally to work with Shay, just on the marketing of players side, just the exits really. And out of that, we built the loan department up into what it was today, with the work that goes into that and the support process around those players, working on player development, trying to bring a little bit more of a process into that something that the players could believe in, and gave the club a bit of structure. And I think that's worked pretty well. We've had big numbers of players that have gone out, all different levels, obviously going through the whole pyramid of football, and some really good success stories in there. And I'd like to think that the department has helped develop careers. But that then quickly moved into helping the processes of recruitment, in terms of the decisions that they were making to put players forward for assessment from the decision makers who did the actual recruitment from there. That's been transformed, and I know how hard those departments work. And then in recent times, since I came back from Zurich, obviously overhauling the academy with John Hunter Barrett. Unfortunately, a byproduct of that is that we're starting to lose players to the big clubs, but it shows that everybody in the academy is working hard to produce players. And we expect that to bear real fruit over the next coming years.
And while it is an internal appointment as technical director, how do your experiences, both here at Wolves and from elsewhere, maybe set you apart from people that have held similar roles previously?
I don't think there's too many that have played, had long careers on the pitch and then done quite all of the roles off the pitch. Obviously, coaching tends to be a natural role progression for players. I've been the other way, really. I've always been more stimulated by the business side of the game. Did my coaching badges, didn't necessarily love it, didn't enjoy it, and I've really enjoyed the process part of the game. I've always worked right from signing as a professional at 18. I've never been unemployed and outside of the game. I retired at 37 and had a weekend off and started work for IMG, the big football corporation, sports corporation at the time, looking at player development for their agency side, plus various business aspects of the game. And then I've had some brilliant experiences in all facets of the game, on the broadcasting side, looking after players on the representation side, so I know the agency contract side of things. And then the education I've had here at Wolves has been brilliant in recent times.
And if we focus on being president of Grasshoppers, how beneficial will that experience be, working with the ownership, the management, those sort of departments?
I mean, you have to understand how a football club functions to run any football club. Obviously a big difference in scale between Wolverhampton Wanderers and Grasshoppers, but it's a big historic club there. There's political pressures that surround the club. It was testing times. I arrived on the 1st of July. The season started 17 days later. We had no team, we had no scouts, so we had to really get ourselves together, joined up, much less numbers of staff there. So the functions were tough, but we find a way, and again we have to find a way, as we do now with this particular football club.
And when we look at Wigan, 6 years behind the scenes there, you set up the recruitment department, the academy. How beneficial will that experience be as well?
Yeah, good. I mean, certainly with the academy, was right in at the start of EPPP. I was working with Roberto Martinez at the time, running his training grounds, so got to see him work closely, and he's had a brilliant career from there. His work with individuals, staff and players was exemplary, and certainly took a lot from his professionalism in bringing together a football club, fighting adversity, because it was tough. To be Wigan Athletic in the Premier League was tough, and it's ironic that he delivered a trophy in the FA Cup, an unbelievable story, in the same year that unfortunately eventually got found out on the finances, and relegation came from there, and it was tough for the football club from that moment. But Roberto for 7 years or so, just produced miracle after miracle. An unbelievable job with his staff, and learnt an awful lot from him into the functioning, the day-to-day functioning of the fabric of a football club. And those experiences have certainly been born out of that. I took them into Zurich, was only there for a relatively short time, but we were stable. It's kind of the best that they've been in recent times. Sold a few players that came out of an unbelievable process of recruitment, in just literally looking at players on video and deciding the free agents that may or may not help. But they've sold a couple of those players that made good money, controlled the cost base, and had a really good workforce that was very, very motivated, and that's so important. And we've seen, just with the early impact from Rob coming into this football club, what a difference that can make.
Brilliant. And then also, away from clubs, you've done work in agency work, punditry, analysis. How did that sort of give you a better understanding of the workings of the sport?
Again, it helps you understand the people's jobs on a daily basis that are working here, the processes of that. I mean, for example, the analysis, I was very early in the Brazil World Cup. I was doing that for the World Feed, along with Dean Ashton and Tony Dorigo. The three of us were in charge of that analysis. And it was just the start of the modern analysis that we've seen, with players moving around on the light cones and positional movements. It was the technology just starting, but again, a brilliant experience to be a part of a major tournament based over there in Rio for 6 weeks or so. But again, I said yes because it's a brilliant part of football development. Wasn't sure how it would shape my future, but it's definitely led to an unbelievable experience from that perspective.
And if we bring it back to Wolves and the modern day, obviously it has been a terrible start to the Premier League season. What do you put that down to, and how do we go about changing that?
Well, we have to change it ourselves. No one changes it for you. So it's an internal culture that helps support the players. The players have the hard work to do. The 11 that we send out to represent us on a Saturday or Sunday or Tuesday night have to give the very best of themselves. We can help with the tactical side, and we help with some support. Ultimately, you need the best players. It's very well documented, the players that we lost in the summer. The players that have come in have been excellent professionally, a really good group, a group that wants to be helped and wants to work hard for each other. But ultimately, learning to play in the Premier League while you're playing in the Premier League is really tough. And it's brought us to this really challenging point in all of our careers right now, and how we cope with the next few months will define a lot of futures.
And as a player, you experienced relegation battles with Everton, with Wigan, successful on both occasions. How much can you use that, and what was crucial to those successful missions?
I mean, ultimately, you're playing performances. The players have to stick together. There was definite positives that we've had this season. There was definite positives that we've had on Saturday with the work rate, the duels that were won, some of the possession that we had, the expected goals. Ultimately, it translates into real goals and real results, and we're not deluding ourselves that we don't need to put those things right. But the players giving the very best of themselves is a great starting point. And then a stability that comes from the coaching, and then through the rest of the club as well, the staff supporting all of those processes, vitally important, because a place that's a happy workplace definitely transmits to the middle of the pitch eventually.
And with the appointment of Rob, it represents a new cycle on the pitch. How important is it to change the approach off it?
I mean, the approach off it, as long as people are working hard, is absolutely fine. The coaches should define how that first 11 look and how the squad is used, and the pressures that come from that. But the support processes in a modern football club are unbelievable, with the physical support that's required, the medical support that's required around it, and then down into the academy, the player care and understanding that players have a pathway and those communications. You know, it's a proper big corporation essentially that is behind a football team, and the best clubs have the best oiled machines that work in that way. Everybody supports working towards a common goal, and that tends to be played out on the field of play.
And when you look at all those different departments, how important is it for everyone to be joined up behind the scenes, and how will that lead to better results on the pitch?
I mean, it does help. Vitor, the job that he did coming in, as you know, uniting the club at the time that he did in what was another crisis situation, was amazing. And the city gets behind him, and it's so important that we have that buy-in as well from the supporters. We need to convince them that their club is in safe hands, and that people are looking to the future, because the club will be here for many years to come. It's been here for more than 100 years already. It's going to be around for an awfully long time, long before we've gone. We are the custodians in the short term, and we understand those responsibilities, but we also have to demonstrate those responsibilities. That's really important.
And when we look at the senior leadership team in place, how will that be working now and how will your remit fit into that?
Yeah, very much alongside the team. We've got Phil as the head of performance, Matt Wild, who does all the administrative side of the football club, Max with the head of communications, feeding into the oversight from Jeff. So really vitally important. Other support from Chris from an HR perspective, and then other elements that feed in occasionally. But understanding all elements, then the fabric of the football club is understood completely. We get from Rob the support that he requires. We make sure those things are in place as much as we can do.
I know always a hot topic is obviously recruitment. How important is it to get that right and maybe change what's gone wrong previously?
I mean, it is everything about a football club. Ultimately, the players you put out in the first 11 are the players that get those results that are so important. So recruitment generally is everything. We've done brilliant jobs over the years in terms of creating wealth for the football club whilst putting a team out, and that's been the problem just recently. Fairly apparent that we've sold really well, but not necessarily invested in players that are as ready to go as those players that we've sold, and that's where we've struggled a little bit. And I mentioned the point earlier on, it's hard to learn in the Premier League. So that experience, any experience you have, it's why players, you look at a Jurgen situation when he can double his value in the space of a year, that's good recruitment, came through a natural recruitment process through the football club. Obviously I've overseen the technical aspects of that recruitment. I know how hard that recruitment department works to identify targets that are being considered elsewhere in the football club. And it might be that we join those bits up a little bit better now.
You mentioned the recruitment department there. How important is it to use their knowledge, their eye for a player moving forward?
Yeah, their processes are really good. The detail is forensic, as it is across all departments now, and all football clubs. The Premier League, as we know, have the whole world to choose from when it comes to football resource, but that also means it comes with economic penalties because it's tough to buy those best players. So we have to manage our money really, really carefully. We know who the best players are. It doesn't mean they're always achievable. So then you're looking into that second tier, and the best clubs are the ones that buy in that second tier so they can generate themselves a team, but they can also generate themselves a longevity that kind of meets the financial responsibilities we have with FFP and that part of the game as well. All things that have to be really carefully considered.
And when it comes to a transfer, how important is it to make use of all these different departments and make sure everyone's sort of singing from the same hymn sheet?
It's everything. You know, the players, we have to have performance from them. So we need to know that they're going to be fit, they've got a resilience. Of course, we can't take out the fact that you pick up injuries along the way. That's very much a part of the modern game. So we need them to be thoroughbreds. So we need to certainly consider that. But it's not just the in-ball, the quality that they have, it's off the ball, it's them as a personality, as a character, buying into the fabric of the uniqueness of the Wolverhampton Wanderers. All of these things are checked to the nth degree now.
And moving away from the men's first team, you've previously had responsibilities with the women, with the academy. Moving forward, how will we make sure that their needs are met as well?
Certainly the women's been a real success this year, coming out of a little bit of adversity from last year. I think communication has been a lot better this year. Mac has done an unbelievable job in building the side. I've been lucky enough to see the women's team, but going right down into the academy now, the level of detail that goes into their preparations, as professional as anything that goes on elsewhere in the football club. That's certainly been borne out by results. If they do get themselves promoted this year, we have that commitment for them to go up to WSL2. And that brings some mandatory requirements. There'll be a head of women and girls football there that comes into the system, and that will take away a lot of the duties. But the credit this year really goes to Macca and the way that he's pulled that together. We've added a little bit of administrative support around him, and they're doing a great job themselves. But the on-field football stuff has been driven by Macca, and he deserves every credit. And
with the workings behind the scene, is a combination of maybe changing roles and bringing people in, new roles for the academy and the women?
Yeah, we have an academy director role out now. So again, I will have some oversight of that and have seen every single element of the academy previously, understand exactly how it comes together. We have a head of coaching to appoint in the academy as well. So those two individuals will really drive the football culture. We'll move on from the really hard work that John's put in his 15 years here with the football club. It's been an unbelievable journey that he's put in place. And we're starting to see, I mentioned earlier, like losing players. We've lost 4 and would have lost another one if we hadn't resisted so strongly to big clubs this year, this summer. And it's tough when the biggest clubs are taking your best talents every year. And unfortunately, the system as it stands at the moment is not particularly set up for us to be able to resist that. It's frustrating because you never see the fruits of your labour affecting the first team. But it does show that the coaching quality that we've got, the programme we have in place, is producing football talent that others covet.
And how much hard work has been going on already behind the scenes at both of those departments?
I mean, it never stops in the academy. It's relentless. They work so hard. Never the best hours, certainly outside of the limelight. But when we have a programme coming up from under 8, really everything that goes around identifying local talents, supporting families with player care, with safeguarding, it is an unbelievable operation that takes place. People work really hard. Don't get the credit or the reward they necessarily do, but love their jobs and just really want to help produce young players and give an option for young boys and girls of Wolverhampton to find their pathway in football.
And many of those staff have been here for a long time. How important is that continuity to produce players, to produce results on the pitch?
No, it's huge because each club has its own particular identity. And when we're at our best here at Wolverhampton Wanderers, when the stadium on a match day is the centre point of the city and you feel that energy being drawn into it, it's a brilliant place to be. But we understand our responsibilities to the people who give up their hard-earned money to come down and support us. They have to be seeing the best of us at any given time. We do that in the academy. That is a given. That's what we have to try, and an education that we have to put into the players. It certainly filters through to the first team because the staff that we have around often have been here a long time and can help the players who are coming from all points of the world to our city, to represent our city, and it's important they understand really quickly what it's all about.
Yeah, when we look at the men's first team with the appointment of Rob, how do you see the future shaping up now?
I mean, it's going to be a challenge. He's ready for that challenge early on. We know that. You can't be on 2 points at the bottom of the Premier League and in any way think it's anything other than a tough time. So we find out how resilient we are together. We have to have a discipline amongst us. So we have to find a way to look after each other. But we stick together. We allow the 11 players that go out to really fight for us. And we get that little bit of luck. We get a result. You use that momentum to get another result. And then you just never know from there.
And just finally, almost regardless of the season's outcome, how important is it to maybe draw a line here and make sure the club really kicks on from this point, short and long term?
I mean, it's important, but that's not to say there's not been an awful lot of good work that goes on to bring us to this point as well. Yes, some decisions obviously could have been better. We would like to have way more points than we have now. It brings its own pressures, but clubs find a way. The best clubs find a way, and we want to be one of those best clubs that find a way. But there's been a lot of good work. I say the people that I've worked for previously have been outstanding in the work that they've done in all different areas. You know, I take the best of them, and hopefully I can help move forward in this role and help lots of other people move the club forward as well.
Thanks, Matt, and good luck.
Pleasure. Thank you.